So, Cyberpunk 2077 has just been a complete laughingstock in the gaming industry. Perhaps there will never be another instance where a game is hyped up to such a level leading up to launch. I mean, it was like the most anticipated game in years. Like I was saying, it was the most anticipated game of this entire console generation. And to have it launch as a buggy mess and being virtually unplayable on several consoles, yeah, I just don't know if there'll ever be a bigger blunder than that. Leading up to the game's launch, I raised concern over the things that some reviewers were saying, talking about how they weren't allowed to use their own gameplay for review videos, were only given codes for the PC version. Those were immediate red flags to me as soon as I read them. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But of course, a lot of the defenders came out and were like, oh, they're just hating. It's gonna be great and nothing to worry about. This is CD Projekt Red. Don't you know, ChiGuy, they made The Witcher 3. Don't you know that? Have you ever heard of the video game called The Witcher 3? But yeah, the game obviously came out and was a disaster. PC, again, was the best, but still had a ton of issues. And eventually, Sony would go as far to remove the game entirely from the PlayStation Store after getting so many refund requests, which resulted in a large drop in their stock price as well as lawsuits being levied against them now. And now, almost a month after launch, getting all these sales in that, CD Projekt Red put out an update video to talk about the future roadmap for the game. In it, they admitted that they were disappointed in the state the console version launched in. The whole thing was just so sad to watch. It was hosted by one of the co-founders, Marcin Iwinski, I believe his name is, which, before I tear this guy and his company to shreds, I will give him some props for saying it was the board's decision as well as his to release the game in this awful state, and he made it a point to say he places no blame on the devs who worked their asses off on the game. But that's the only thing I can really applaud here. He goes on to spew the typical garbage PR speak, trying to act like they're owning up to things. I think he even says that specifically. This is me owning up to this. But then he goes on to say, quote,
"Although, believe me, we never ever intended for anything like this to happen.
We never ever intended for anything like this to happen. Believe me."
Again, with these companies, this pisses me off so much. Acting like they released a broken game on accident or something. We didn't mean for this to happen. What didn't you mean to happen? Did you not mean to intentionally lie about the quality of the console version of this game? Did you not mean to only give reviewers PC review codes when they asked you specifically for a console review code and you wouldn't give it to them? Was that an accident? Oopsies. People wanted to look at the console versions, but we refused to let them. Our bad. It was just an honest mistake when we told people they weren't allowed to use their own gameplay footage in review videos. You know how that just happens all the time when people request something from you and you refuse to give it to them. You know how mistakes like that just happen. Oh my God. If you want to claim you're owning up to this, you should say you knew exactly what you were doing, because that's the truth. I mean, I guess this will work again for some of your blind fanboys, the defenders, who are too dug in when it comes to this game. They're already going, see guys, they're sorry and they're gonna fix it. Yeah, after they already took your money. And so the video is actually about this roadmap. They announced there are 2 major patches coming in like the next 2 months. I think they said that they claim will fix a lot of the issues players are experiencing. Yeah, we'll see about that. And they also make it a point to note they're gonna give us, it's a gift of free DLCs. Be grateful, guys. They're going to give us free DLC within just a few months after release. A few months after release for a game that they're admitting now they rushed out the door. Can't wait to see how substantial that DLC is and whether or not it feels more like cut content. I mean, a company like this that blatantly lied about the state of the console versions of their game, to the point, again, where Sony had to pull it from the store. A company like that wouldn't cut content and then try to peddle it like it's a gift to the consumer, would they? But my absolute favorite thing here is their discussion of the next-gen versions. Remember, on PS5 and Xbox Series X, currently, you're not playing the next-gen versions of this game. You're playing essentially enhanced versions of the PS4 and Xbox One versions. In terms of getting the actual next-gen versions, they say they are, quote, targeting the second half of this year to release them. So hopefully you'll be able to play the next-gen versions before 2022. Again, given the history of this game and this company lately, I don't know if I'd bet on that. I find this so funny because, again, when it comes to the defenders, the fanboys of this game, the biggest, by far most popular defense I've seen these idiots cite is, obviously this is targeting next-gen consoles. You thought your puny PS4 and Xbox Ones would be able to handle this big fancy new game, even though the game was announced in like 2013, and there are plenty of new games that are very visually impressive still releasing and running on them, especially PlayStation putting out the likes of The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima last year on PS4, and of course the tiny little itty-bitty factor that they sold the game on Xbox One and PS4. Yeah, who would think this game would run on the console they specifically advertised and sold it for? Crazy. But yeah, now that argument has gotten even more funny because these consoles that people are claiming the game was actually targeting, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, their version isn't even coming until late this year at the earliest. I mean, given the game's development, again, like I said, are you really going to be shocked if these versions don't drop until 2022, which would make it a full year delay between the initial release and the release of the next-gen versions? So the Brainiacs here claim the versions that were the actual target, that they're actually focusing on with this game, are coming as much as a year later than the others. This is big news. I've personally never seen that happen before, where the systems that were the focus came out a year later. Now, the fact is, the PC clearly got the majority of the attention. People are running this game both on higher-end PCs and lower-end PCs a million times better than it ran on console. I believe that's what got the initial attention, and what likely happened was there just wasn't time to get really anything else done before release day, unless, like I've said, they wanted to just release it on PC first, then do console versions later. But it looks like for the full multi-platform release, this game should have come out at the earliest summer, maybe fall 2021. But those board members, they wanted those holiday 2020 sales. I've been saying it from the beginning, and that's why they released the game in December in the state it was. I personally don't see any other reason for it. Now, as whenever I talk about this game, I want to be clear that I'm glad if you're enjoying it that you are, whether you're playing it on PC, even the next-gen versions, and you're saying, oh, I don't have as many issues. Again, I played the game on PS5. I played all the way through. I'd say that if the game went more than 45 minutes without crashing, that'd be pretty lucky. But if you're saying, oh, my experience is great, whatever, fine. But clearly, there's an issue here. Even CD Projekt Red now is making it a point to come out and say that these console versions in particular weren't up to snuff. So you can say, yeah, your experience with it you think is fine, it was great even, but that's not a counter-argument for the issues other people are having. And the same goes for when this game does eventually get all the patches and updates. People want to act like, oh, well, that'll make things all better, right? No, you took people's money for a broken product. I don't care what it's like in 3 months, a year from now. If it's going to be good by then that's when it should have released. I say this all the time, and I do get a lot of pushback for some reason. I don't know why. I always am consistent in saying when I buy a game, I buy it to play it like now. I don't buy a game that I plan on playing 3 months from now. So it should be ready to go when it's available to buy, or else it should be delayed. That's it. And I don't think this should be controversial. Again, some reason it is when we're talking about AAA games. This isn't early access when you're going in knowing you're buying a promise, hopes, and dreams. This is supposed to be a complete experience, a quality experience at launch, and anything less isn't good enough. And frankly, this apology in this video, these apologies that CD Projekt Red have been saying, aren't good enough either. Once more, if you want to say, oh, we're owning up to it, be honest. This, oh, it was a mistake, we didn't intend for this to happen, is complete bullshit. You knew exactly what you were doing, and the only thing that you're actually upset about is that you got called out enough for it to make your whole company look like a joke. Anyway, with that, I'm going to cut myself off here. Let me know your thoughts on this latest development in the Cyberpunk 2077 story. Do you think the company of CG Projekt Red, these board members, are truly sorry about releasing the game in this state? Do you think it was a mistake? Do you think they just, oopsie, it was an accident? Are you going to be grateful when they finally do patch it and give you the version you were promised? Are you going to be grateful for those free DLCs when they come out? Let me know in the comments. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this discussion of the latest non-apology, I guess I'll say, from CD Projekt Red about Cyberpunk 2077. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at JohnnyZakari. And join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.